powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's going to be fun to see how he goes about approaching this game.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the part and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next. Yeah,
I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, but that's the beauty of the game.
Today you are denying funny face.
It's not my brother.
You are denying funny face.
I don't know him.
You don't know funny face.
It's not my brother.
You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Huabin Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.
Powers and principalities.
There's so much fire inside me.
Tragedy struck when part of the largest hillside at the kosher rubbish dump collapsed.
It's going to be fun to see how he goes about approaching this game.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the part and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next.
Yeah, I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, But that's the beauty of the game.
Today you are denying funny face.
It's not my brother.
Today you are denying funny face.
I don't know him.
You don't know funny face.
It's not my brother.
You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Akwei Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.
Welcome to the Lowdown on Ghana Web TV. This program covers everything relevant and everything that has to do with the issues that are being discussed today. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei. There's a lot of concern on crime rate in Ghana and also how investigators are able to come to conclusions on crimes. We've seen Ahmed Swale, we've seen other crime issues that have come up, and to date, there's no conclusion to these issues. We see in movies how investigators in the Western world take fingerprints, hair and bodily samples, shattered glasses, etc. for analysis and to close investigations. We'll be talking about forensics in crime investigation in this edition of the Lowdown. We'll be right back. You are watching the Lowdown. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei. Our guest is a forensic scientist. She's a graduate from the University of Strathclyde in Scotland. Welcome to the Lowdown, Nana Adwoa Frema Fiakwi.
Thank you for having me.
So, forensic scientist, what is or how is that like?
It's very interesting. A layman's explanation of it would be CSI, but that wouldn't be sufficient. Yeah, you've got a lot to do. You've got to know a lot of things. You have to read a lot. You have to have an analytical mind to be able to understand the different aspects of it.
How does one become a forensic scientist? Do you need to go to the University of Ghana and study biochemistry, or what do you need to study?
So for me, I have a background in biochemistry, cell and molecular biology from the University of Ghana. And I think you don't need to follow a specific path. You just need to do a science course. Sometimes you may not even have to do a science course, but have a little knowledge in science to do forensic science. Yeah.
And for you, you have some knowledge in that, but you were not a forensic scientist after the first year of studies.
Yes.
It was for the second degree.
Yes.
So that's how one can become a forensic scientist.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so tell us about what goes into the works of forensic scientists. I know you just graduated from the university in Scotland and you did some work around forensic science to get to where you are right now. So what really goes into the work and what kinds of forensic science is there? Okay,
so I'm going to start with the types of forensic science, the branches of forensic science, and then move on to your subsequent question. There are a lot of branches in forensic science. You have forensic anthropology, forensic botany, forensic pathology. Basically, anything that has a scientific basis that can help in legal issues, you can attach a forensic to it. Yeah. And however, I'd like to add that there are other fields that are not specifically scientific that are attached to forensics. So say forensic accounting. So that has to do with auditing, be able to tell the discrepancies in the accounting reports.
So that means without any legal basis, forensics isn't useful anywhere?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There are a lot of things that forensics applies to. So say determining family relations, determining relationships between people. Say someone is contesting that a woman gave birth to a child and the child doesn't belong to him. So that could be an aspect, right? Without actually getting to the legal stage. If someone wants to clarify on a particular issue. Yeah.
Okay. So you're giving us the definition of the kinds, and you mentioned forensic pathology,
Yes.
forensic, even
Anthropology,
accounting,
yes.
and others. So let's say forensic pathology. You know what pathology is? Let me just, or you can tell us what it is for the benefit of our audience.
So forensic pathology deals with the examination of dead bodies, basically. You're supposed to be able to find out what the cause of death was, what time the person died, how the person died, and any other thing that you can help to support the case.
So isn't that basically pathology?
It is.
So what
It
makes
is.
the difference?
It is. The difference basically is that you have a case in court that needs to be resolved.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
Let's bring it down to our level, I mean Ghana, where we've had some cases. An example is Ahmed Swale, a journalist who was murdered in front of his family house in Medina. And people saw these criminals, I'll call them that, who were around waiting for him. He came back into his car, and they came over with on a motorbike and fired shots at him. So a case like that, how best can it be approached forensically?
I think that the CID division of the Ghana Police Service handles most of the investigations in Ghana, if not all. And I think they're a very professional group and they know what to do.
Even before you answer, I have to say that this interview is not taking anything away from the works of the Ghana Police CID. They do a very good job, and I think they've come to conclusions on some cases through these forensic and other things. But it's just to give knowledge or add to knowledge to our audience, and that's why this show is here. The Lowdown is to give you some facts. So you can go ahead.
Yes, so as I was saying, the CID division of the Ghana Police Service is a very professional group, and they conduct their investigations based on the resources that they have and the crimes that they are confronted with. Based on the case that you just stated, without mentioning specific details, I think that any forensic investigation has to have a strategy attached to it. So before the CID division actually tackles the case, they have to outline a certain strategy with which they're going to analyze the evidence that is collected from the crime scene, which would help with further investigation.
Okay, so first you go in with a strategy.
Yes.
Analyze the evidence that's
Yes.
at the crime scene.
Yes.
So let's say in areas where there's a lot of people and you are a forensic scientist, you've been called to the scene. Definitely the police will call you to the scene because you might be part of the team that works on the cases. So you are called to the scene. What's the first thing that's supposed to be done?
The first thing I think that needs to be done is to try as much as possible to get people away from the scene to reduce the rate of contamination on the evidence. That's like fundamental, one of the things we need to do. Because once evidence is contaminated, it cannot be reversed. And so you need to preserve the integrity of the evidence at a crime scene. Then the scientists can proceed with collecting the evidence that they see that they need for their investigation.
So what's the typical evidence in your own perspective at a crime scene where someone has been shot in their car and we have all the glass scattered and everything around there? What is evidence? What is supposed to be picked up?
Okay, so for such an incident, you could be looking at bullets, you could be looking out for fingerprints, you could be looking out for footprints, if there are any, and this could be in cases where the area is muddy, so then you have a footprint that has been left by one of the culprits. So those are the kind of things you look out for.
Okay, but in CSI, which I know you said forensics has nothing to do with CSI, or it does,
It does,
in a way.
it does.
Yes,
it
so
does.
we see people even taking, glass samples to see where exactly the first shot went through. They're able to take other things. Do you think that can be done in Ghana?
Yes, I think that can be done in Ghana.
Which machines will be needed to do such a thing?
There are several machines. Off the top of my head, I can't mention any, but then I know that there are certain equipment that you need. There are certain types of glass that you need to reconstruct scenes. So yeah.
It's about site reconstruction.
Yes.
So it means you have to envisage and see how the scene was before the crime actually took place,
Yes.
to be able to identify who might have done what at the time.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is very interesting, and I'm sure our listeners, our viewers, would want some more on that. We'll be back in a few seconds, and we'll talk more about it after this break. Welcome back from the short break. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei, and you're watching the Lowdown. Our guest today is Nanadwa Akwei, and she's a forensic scientist. So you are giving us an idea of what is done on the crime scene when there's a crime, and then forensic scientists come there. So they pick up some samples which they take in as evidence. So you said they have to reconstruct the scene and then, or the crime, and then be able to know what they would have to pick up. So how many of such agencies do we have in this country, if you have any idea?
Yes, so for what I know, we have a forensics lab, which is run by the CID, and it is the only one in Ghana which serves all the 10 regions. And because of its infrastructure and its nature, it is the first of its kind in West Africa. So anybody can access it if they need any forensic examination to be conducted.
Okay, so it means you don't need to be given an order from the court to be able to go seek their services?
Yes, not necessarily.
So as you said earlier, maybe people want to know if a child is theirs or not. They can go to the CID and use that service to see if indeed they have the children or not.
Yes, actually, that's possible. And if I may add, also there are hospitals that conduct these kind of tests, and private laboratories that also do these kind of testings.
So we call those ones to forensics?
No, I wouldn't say they are forensic labs. I would say they are med labs.
Okay.
But then they conduct some of those tests that are conducted at the forensic labs.
And how many forensic scientists like you do you know?
I cannot give a specific number, but I'd say that there are more now than there used to be 10 years ago. So
Okay. And they are private, or they are police men, or already in the security agencies?
I wouldn't be able to tell. I wouldn't be able to tell.
And how many of you or Ghanaians like you were in your school in Scotland?
So it was just me. I was the only Ghanaian in my class.
Oh, and how was that like?
It was interesting. It was interesting.
Was it a huge class?
Yes, we were 55 for the entire class.
And you were the only Ghanaian.
I was the only Ghanaian.
And what did you learn from there? I mean, what went into your thesis? What did you work on?
Okay, so we looked at a scientific approach, a scientometric approach to analyzing literature review on explosives as an evidence type. And what we basically wanted to do was to determine what kind of research had been conducted on explosives over a period of time. So we looked at, the period was 1990 till date, and we're trying to see if there were any gaps or any loopholes in the research that is being conducted on explosives. My research was part of a collective research on different evidence types. So I worked on explosives, other people worked on firearms, other people worked on fiber, other people worked on glass. So collectively we added our thesis together, and we're planning on publishing a manuscript, yes, which has been submitted.
This is quite interesting because our country has not had any major issues when it comes to explosives. And we know during Kwame Nkrumah's era there was a bomb explosion, and there have been some other few bomb explosions. But currently there is a proliferation of arms and weapons. Who knows? Explosives could be one of them, and we would need somebody who could help us know exactly how the explosives or exploded. I mean, how they came about and all of that. And I'm sure you will be of help in that area. Do you have any interest in working with us in this country?
Yes, yes. If my help is needed, I would gladly give it.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest forensics cases, I mean successes, that this country or even the world has ever achieved from your studies?
Okay, so one that comes readily to mind is a case that occurred in Tamale. This was in 2006, and a man named Mr. Emmanuel Asante was accused of having impregnated a student, and he was imprisoned, and his sentence was for 15 years. He had served 12 out of the 15 years, and so around that time was when forensics was coming to the limelight. So then he was able to be exonerated on the basis of forensic examination, and it was found out that he actually didn't impregnate the student. So this is one of the cases that puts forensics on the map in Ghana.
But isn't it just a DNA test that could determine that?
Yes, exactly.
So the DNA test is what they did?
Yes.
And okay.
Yes.
And that's one forensic success in the country.
Yes.
So what about crime? I mean, that was also a crime in case it's defilement or rape.
Yes.
I don't know which one.
Yes.
But what about other crimes like, gunshots and other things like that?
So for what I know, I'm not too familiar with the cases now, but then the case I just gave you is a classic example of one of the cases that forensics has helped resolve.
Okay. So we have one big case in the country right now. A police officer was shot in a bullion van, and other people were also shot, but he died. And all of us saw the video because people were around taking shots of the video, and you could see the people all over the crime scene trying to pull the policeman out of the vehicle and trying to help other people who were in the bullion van. So such an incident, did you see the video?
I did.
So
I
what did you pick out of that video?
Okay, so on watching that video, I was really alarmed by the nature of the crime and the account that was given. For those who don't have any knowledge of the interview I watched, I'd like to give a brief explanation. And so this account was of a primary eyewitness, and he stated that when he got to the scene, he realized that the driver was unconscious and the policeman had died, and so he quickly rushed to help the driver. Also, he stated that he picked up bullets from the floor, which he tried to secure for the crime scene investigators, which I found very alarming. I'd like to say that in as much as we try to help the police in their work, we should be mindful of our actions, the way our actions contaminate our crime scenes. And this could indirectly cause us to lose valuable evidence that could help solve cases.
So picking the bullets was the wrong thing to do?
Yes.
What about helping the policeman or the injured person in the car?
That's an excellent thing to do. What I'm saying is, if no one is in critical danger of losing their lives, please try to refrain from interacting with crime scenes. Yeah. Possibly you could exchange trace evidence that could be used against you.
But how can you get the people to understand this? Because people are alarmed at that moment. Nobody is thinking of rules. Everybody is thinking of saving someone or getting in there in the action. So how does this work even in Scotland?
Okay, so in Scotland, the police service have police officers that are designated to looking at crime scenes and working on crime scenes. So they have adequate training and knowledge about how to go about it. And their emergency response services are good. They work really well and efficiently. But in Ghana, I would like to say that unfortunately sometimes our emergency response services don't work adequately. So then we residents around the cases, around the crime scenes, have to step in to help people.
Okay, so the residents are stepping in to help people.
Yes.
But you are saying that unless in some exceptions, it's not the right thing to do, to get into the crime scene, unless someone is really in need of help.
Yes.
Or in danger.
Yes.
So how do we go around this situation? Is it education, or what can be done around it?
Yes, the first thing is education. I think we need to get out a lot of information about forensics, its role in the criminal justice system, and the benefits that come with using forensics as a tool in our criminal justice system. Also, if we have programs that are developed, programs in our tertiary institutions that are developed to help other people who are interested in picking up a career in forensics, then we are widening our net in educating ourselves, our families, our children, and possibly the future generation.
I'm happy about the first point, that we need to educate people, and that's why we have you here to help us educate people about forensics and how helpful it will be to the criminal justice system.
Yes.
So the justice system, how often does it rely on forensics to be able to come to the conclusion of a case? Because we know that there are so many people in jail in Ghana here. Even, let's put DNA aside, so many people have been jailed, some for some frivolous offenses, which indeed they didn't commit. And they've been in jail for years and they are still saying they are innocent. But just a little investigation, scientific investigation like forensics, could help. So how is the justice system supposed to play out? To work with the forensics department of the police and other services like that?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that forensics is not an absolute.
Okay.
So then, not every case can be solved using forensics. There are a lot of things that go into solving cases. So depending on the nature of the case and the requirements of the case, then you might employ forensic science in resolving it. So that's where forensics comes in. For what I know in Ghana, for cases that require forensic investigation, this has to be requested by whichever party that is involved. So if it is not requested, and if the prosecutors don't see the need, or the lawyers don't see the need to involve any forensic investigation, sometimes it might not be utilized. So it really is about the people involved in the criminal justice system, the lawyers, the solicitors, the judges, pair their ideas and pair their role as judges. They will determine if a case really needs some forensic evidence or not.
Okay, so the other issue that came up, the killing of one activist in Ejura, I'm sure you are following that incident as well.
Yes.
Could forensics help in solving that murder as well?
Yes, to an extent. In looking at the crime scene, what I imagined in the videos that I've seen, there are a number of things that could be used to help in resolving this case. So for one, he was battered, right? So then the sticks, if they're there, could be recovered into evidence and be used and examined. And also, eyewitness testimony of the accounts that occurred could be collected and analyzed to see the sequence of events. Also, it was mentioned that he received death threats and other threats through his social media accounts. These could be traced back to the people who sent them. So that's where cyber forensics and digital forensics comes in.
Okay, so it was battered, and I think let's say, or let's assume that they have the weapon. So now when they get the weapon to the laboratory, how do they work around that weapon to be able to identify some clues to the murderers? Okay,
so depending on the strategy they choose, they can choose a number of things. Maybe they look out for fingerprints. They can look out for if their DNA profiles that are available, which are not necessarily the victim's DNA profile, to find out which other people were there. Those are the main things I think they can use to solve this case.
So how can they get DNA from, let's say, a piece of wood?
Okay, so DNA is transferred through many things, okay? So even your skin cells follow all the time. So say he picked up the stick, probably some of his skin cells were deposited on the stick. Also your fingerprints leave some residues like oils aside the print itself, which can be examined to determine your DNA.
So it means no matter what, you can find something
Yes.
from the crime scene.
You can.
Or from objects.
You may find something.
Okay. So besides the weapon, you also mentioned what could be done at the crime scene. So you mentioned another thing.
Cyber forensics.
Yes. So cyber forensics. So how can they work around that as well?
So that can be used to find out who was sending such threats to him before he died, and what the person's role is in the murder of this activist.
So isn't that just going into his Facebook account to see the messages he's received? Is that it?
You know how IT works, right?
Yes.
Sometimes people try to hide behind certain things to send people messages. So yes, it may take just a little more than just going to his social media account and finding out those people.
So it means IT experts could also be forensics support in a way.
Exactly.
And it all comes down to forensics.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's talk about career, the forensics career. Is it a man's world?
No, it isn't. It's open to everyone.
So you know a lot of women who are in the forensics business?
I had most of my lectures being female, yes, in their forensic sciences. So.
Okay. And does it pay so well? Or
it's good.
It's just like medicine?
It's good. I won't say it's like medicine. Depending on what you do, you would have some remuneration for it. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this because I know a lot of women and a lot of young girls will be watching us, and some will be inspired and interested in the field. So this is an opportunity to also let them know exactly what it is and encourage them to be part of it. You're already saying that we need to have programs where young women, young children or young kids are taught that there are such careers that they could pick up and learn from. So what would you say to young people watching us?
I think that if you have a passion for forensic science, absolutely pursue it and don't let anything stop you. It's an exciting field. It can be tiring, it can be stressful, but it's worth it. And if that's what you really want to do, I think you should pursue it.
And you know, we have a country where every kid wants to be a doctor or a lawyer or a journalist because they see them always on TV, or other careers that are around them. And until I met you, I can't point out to even a single forensic scientist. So how can the kids say they want to be forensic scientists when they've not met people in that field? Isn't that more of a disadvantage?
Yes, that's why I was talking about education earlier, that if we're able to institutionalize our forensic science programs in the tertiary level, in the secondary school level, even have programs outside of our educational system where these kids can have access to this information about pursuing a career in forensic science, that would really help.
Do you have any program currently running?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yes.
So how did you know or hear about forensic science?
I used to watch a lot of CSI and a lot of Bones, and that's where I picked up the interest. And growing up, I didn't like people being accused of things that they didn't do. So basically, I didn't like people suffering injustice. So that's how come I got interested in forensic science.
And did anyone advise you on how to go about it?
Yes, I got a lot of advice from my dad.
Okay.
Yes, he's into security, but that's physical security.
Okay.
And that really helped.
Okay, so he taught you where to go and how to go about it?
Not necessarily, but he opened my mind to all the options available if I wanted to pursue a career in forensic science.
Can you share some of these options and what others could also do?
Okay, so one, for instance, is what to do in the university, my first degree. I actually didn't know what to do. I thought medical school was it. Like, when you do science in the senior high school, then the next thing is to become a doctor, because I'd always wanted to become a doctor when I was younger. But then growing up and watching these series and movies, I realized that there was something else in the scientific field that wasn't being explored so much in Ghana. And I was very interested and intrigued by it. And so applying for my first degree, we decided that, okay, we would try and find a course, a science course, that can directly feed into forensic science. So that's one of the ways.
So
in
first
which we
is science course, and you specifically chose biochemistry.
Yes.
Because that could help you pursue forensic
science. Yes.
Okay. So it means you knew what you wanted to do from secondary school.
More or less.
So it means that if any child, anybody wants to pursue forensic science, they need to know that they need to come to terms with what they want to do earlier before they even go for their first degree.
Yes.
But can anybody who is not in the sciences pursue forensic science as a second degree?
Yes. Actually, it's not just scientific. As I was talking about earlier, there's cyber forensics, there's forensic accounting. So you don't necessarily need to restrict yourself to forensic science, which deals with scientific principles, yes. But then you can be interested in other things like forensic accounting, cyber forensics, detection of identification, so facial identification and recognition. That's an aspect of forensic science that is not being explored a lot here in Ghana. Yeah.
So it means there are so many other forensics that you could learn without necessarily having a science background, like the IT, the cyber forensics you mentioned.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I see. So this has been a very great interview, and we'll come back to talk about what exactly should be the direction of this country when it comes to forensics, how best we could benefit from this area of study after this break. So we'll be back. This is the Lowdown. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei. Welcome back from the short break. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei, and you're watching the Lowdown. Our guest today is Nanajo Fiakui, and she's a forensic scientist. We're talking about what Ghana could do better in dealing with our cases, legal cases, using forensic science. But we can't talk about forensic science and what Ghana could do better without talking about the history of forensic science in Ghana. So can you tell us what's the history? Do we have a good history? Or it's really a bad, murky one?
So forensic science has been around for a while. So in 1894, the Ghana Police Service was set up, which was known as the Gold Coast Police Service. And in 1921, we had the CID departments being formed as well. Then the next year, the year after that, that's when the fingerprinting unit of the CID was formed. So exactly around that time was when forensics actually came to light in Ghana.
That's 92?
That's, no, 1922.
1922?
Yes.
Fingerprints?
Yes, there was a fingerprinting unit in the CID.
Of Ghana Police?
Yes.
Well, that's quite interesting.
Yes, and so coming down to recent years, after the independence, then the Ghana Police was changed. The Gold Coast Police name was changed to Ghana Police because the country had gotten the name Ghana. And then we started having the different units, which are ballistics and firearms, chemical and drug analysis. We have document examination units, and then we have the DNA examination units. And then we have these available to the public. And there's this really nice place at Kaukudi where the forensic lab is located. Yeah.
Okay, so that history is quite interesting. It means that we're able to do all these things even before independence.
Yes.
But how come the public didn't know much about this? And also we've had certain cases where you see everybody screaming from the back saying, why are they not taking fingerprints? They could do this. And I know CSI is one of the main reason why people say that. So you're saying 1922?
Yes, 1922.
Wow. This is quite a rich history, and we'll be talking to the police about this to see what they do. But normally they don't take us through some of these things because of security reasons.
Yes.
Because if people know, then they could also destroy evidence right after the crime.
Yes.
Yeah. So what can we do better now with all these tools and sciences in our possession?
I think the main thing now is education. That's like the major thing. Once people get to know about forensic science, what it is, how it works, the careers they can pursue in it, then I think we are moving in the right direction. I think also, if there are not any laws yet that have been put in place for the advancement of forensic science, I think that it would be really necessary for us to put those in place to help advance forensic science in Ghana. Also, if I know for the UK, where I studied, they have regulatory bodies just for forensic science, and I haven't seen any of that in Ghana. There could be a possibility of setting up one of that here so that it relieves the standard authority of the pressure of having to audit and deal with the forensic lab in Ghana as well. Yes, so those are the kind of things I think we should be looking at if we want to advance forensic science here.
Yes, so do we have schools in this country that teach forensic sciences?
Yes, so there are a number of them. There's one at the University of Cape Coast, so it has a department dedicated to forensic science. It has a course, an undergraduate course, which takes 4 years. And then for the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, there's an MPhil and Master's program for forensic science.
Okay. Well, I'm sure someone will ask, why didn't you do those ones? And then you studied biochemistry first degree before you moved to Scotland.
So I didn't know of the forensic science course in the University of Cape Coast at that time, and I happened to have the opportunity to travel outside, so
okay.
I took it.
Okay, that's very nice. Do you have any final words for us before we go?
Yes, so I'd like to say that we all need to be conscious and proactive and see this as a responsibility to our criminal justice system, a responsibility to ourselves to ensure that we preserve crime scenes. So the next time you may encounter a crime scene, just keep in mind the things you have heard, the things you know, that you don't necessarily have to interact with the crime scene. You need to be able to judge if it's actually necessary to offer help. And in this case, I may suggest that in cases where people's lives are in danger, that is when you act. But if nobody's life is in imminent danger, then please do well to stay away. Try to be proactive in letting other people stay away from crime scenes to preserve the integrity of evidence. Thank you.
So if nobody's life is in danger, stay away from the crime scene. Don't touch anything. Don't pull any dead body out. Just stay away for the investigators to do their work. So those were the words of Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei. She is our guest on this edition of the Lowdown. It was very exciting, and you can watch us every Monday on all of Ghana Web's digital channels. My name is Nii Akwei Ismail Akwei. Stay safe.